There's some other options that you'll see here. If we switch to fly mode and I press the W key, you recall when we were starting this view, we were quite far away from the scene, and I double clicked on the ground to get closer. Well, another option to go faster is while I'm pressing the S key here to go backwards, I can also press down on the control key. So I just let go of it. So you can see that W key or S key or A key or D key plus, right now I'm going to press the control key, allows me to go much faster. So I can quickly get to another part of the building. And this model intentionally has some problems with it that we're going to deal with later in the course. In addition to using the left mouse button, you'll notice that the right mouse button says it does an orbit. So we can orbit around the model by holding down on the by holding down on the right mouse button. So that's the orbit command. Additionally, for the right click, I'm going to press the space bar, which just dropped me down to the ground. So that's a quick way to get at eye level in the model. So additionally, if I press the shift key and then also drag while holding the right mouse button, so drag left or right, so I just press down the shift key, pressing on the right mouse button, dragging left, dragging right while holding down the right mouse button, you'll notice in the lower right Enscape's changing the time of day in real time. So we can see how that light shelf on the exterior of the building is blocking or not blocking sun at different times of the day. Remember, the month and day are fixed. Those can be changed, but you have to go back to Revit to do that. So just a few other things that we have here. So you saw spacebar, control, and then also the arrow key. So there's fast and faster. So regular speed is W, pressing the up arrow is fast, and the control key is faster. We can also press the M key on the keyboard to get a mini map of our location in the model. So if your client needs help figuring out where they are in the model, for example, you don't have a set of printed plans next to you, you could turn this on. Just pressing the M key again hides that. Pressing the K key switches us into the video editor mode. We'll save that for another time. And then once you have these various controls figured out, and particularly when you're presenting in front of a client, you can press the H key to hide the instructions so that's not distracting or covering anything in the scene. Now, one last thing that I want to talk about is the use of a 3D mouse. So right now I'm actually using a 3D connection mouse. I'm going to press the space bar to turn off walk mode. And this allows me to move in 4 different directions at one time. It's more of a cinematic feel, if you will. And you'll really appreciate this when we go into a ceiling space, for example, and we want to go up and over and around ducts and beams and columns so that we can, again, convey to the owner or the mechanical engineer when we're doing coordinating whether things fit or not. So this mouse that I'm using, it comes in different sizes, but there's a really basic model. I'll pull this onto the screen so you can see it. This is a heavy base. This base sits on the table and is not intended to move. And then this top part has the ability to be pushed, slightly twisted. You pull up on it, not to lift it off the ground, but just enough to indicate that you should move up in the model. And so you can push, tilt, twist, and lift all 4 of those different moves at one time. And this particular mouse is about $99. They have more complicated ones with extra buttons, but that one is actually quite nice. And it allows you to move through the model in a very elegant way, which is a lot more natural and I think interesting for your clients as you're working with them to look at different parts of the project, versus pressing the keys and sort of jumping forward and having to stop and jump left and right and up and down. And then this also again works if you press the space bar and are stuck to the ground, it still works as well. You can turn. This mouse actually also sits opposite of your regular mouse. So if your regular mouse is on, you typically use that on your dominant hand. If you're right-handed, you use your regular mouse with your right hand, and then this mouse is actually used with your non-dominant hand. So in my case, it's on my left hand. So you still need your regular mouse to do menu clicks and things like that in various programs. But within programs that support this particular type of mouse, you can navigate with your left hand, and it's really quite nice. The final option is you can also use an Xbox controller. They make corded and wireless ones that work with Enscape, both here in the real-time rendering engine and also in VR with like the Oculus Rift. The Oculus Rift, I don't know if it still does, but it used to come with an Xbox controller. That does require you to use both hands, and I find that it takes a little bit more time to try and get a client who may not be into gaming to know how to use that versus this simple 3D puck that you use to move around with one hand. So that's a quick look at all the options that allow you to navigate within the Enscape scene.